A lot of people still don't respect them. Some people, a lot of the fans, but I think the people doing the analysis and stuff, all the analysis.
Well, I disagree. I think they're gaining respect, and because I think at the beginning of the year, because everybody has preconceived notions on who's going to be like the teams to beat this year, and everybody had the Jets and the Dallas Cowboys at the top of their list, and look at where they're sitting right now. It's awful, and even the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were pretty high up, and what they're 2-7.
Yeah, they haven't been shining ever since they stomped on the terrible Towers.
The teams that we did beat, like the Falcons, and didn't we beat the Chargers?
Yeah, and both of them are like
elite teams.
Yeah, they're like top of their
matter of fact. The Chargers, a lot of them are saying that they're one of the teams to beat. And then of course this past week on Sunday, who'd we beat?
Ravens
for the 8th time, right? 8 out of 9 times, or
8 out of 9.
They just can't beat us. Lamar just freezes, and
we stopped their run game. Yeah, I don't think they had one instance where Derrick Henry managed to break out into the secondary and run 30 yards. But we stopped their run game. They haven't really...
We stopped both of their running backs.
Yeah. Both of them.
And I'm including Lamar Jackson in that one. We stopped him as well because he's a good scrambling quarterback, and he can go pretty good distance, but he couldn't even break loose. So that's a pretty good accomplishment. And we spend so much extra money for our defense. We're like the highest paid defense in the NFL. And it's instances like this that it really shows.
Especially since the Steelers can win in whatever way possible.
You mean...
Like how they don't have to get a touchdown to win? It's like all these other teams are like in the 20s.
You mean...
Almost 30s.
You mean how Cincinnati scored like 3 touchdowns and they couldn't beat them?
Yeah.
They didn't score 1 touchdown?
They were like 14 points behind the Ravens, and they managed to win last minute. It's...
And
Steelers could just stop.
And to be honest with you, is Chris Boswell awesome kicker?
Oh, I always, ever since the first game this year, I always said that he's the best kicker in the league right now.
Oh, and I'll tell you what, I got, you have to give kudos to him because I actually remember Gary Anderson. He was a great kicker too. He also holds like the most points of any Steeler in history, but Chris Boswell, he's edging up there.
Yeah.
Okay. But Chris Boswell, he actually signed. He was a undrafted free agent, and he was signed with the Houston Texans back in 2014.
Yeah.
So he was undrafted. Okay. Then he spent some time in the New York Giants. But here's the key. Okay, we ended up getting him from the New York Giants, okay? He is currently the most accurate field goal kicker in NFL history, okay, on field goal attempts of 50 yards or more. Okay, do you know NFL history, he's the most accurate field goal kicker of 50 yards or more. That's pretty amazing.
Well, I watch a lot of these other kickers and how they kick whenever I watch primetime games. A lot of them, it's like 50-50 from 50 plus. Okay, like some of them just don't even get accurate to it. But for some reason, when I see Boswell, like he slices it right down the middle.
He is
like,
right.
It's like right in the center. If
you had a tape measure and measured across, he would be like within like a foot of that center.
Yeah, and it'd be a shame if like whenever he retires or whatnot, because we're just so used to getting 50-yarders right now. It's ridiculous. I mean, to get 3 field goals from 50 plus this past week, I'm pretty sure it was 3 field goals from 50 plus yards.
Well,
it's incredible, really.
Well, he's not a short dude either. He's 6'2". And I didn't realize he was so tall. Now I'm just looking at some stats, but he's made 260 field goals out of 295 attempts. So he's only missed 35 field goals. So his field goal percentage is 88.1%. So that's pretty good. And his longest is a 59-yard field goal.
I guarantee a lot of those misses was from the beginning of his career.
Oh, it could have been with Houston. It could have been with
because
that could have been with the Giants.
Last year, from what I remember, he only missed one field goal, and that's because there was a penalty.
Yeah, this is on his career. This is not just the Steelers. This is Wikipedia.
Yeah,
it was on his.
But I think
career.
I think it was last year where he missed one field goal, and it's because he kicked it. It was good. Then there was a penalty on the Steelers, 5 yards bumped back. Then he tried to re-kick, and he missed it. He shanked it.
This is the second time this year that he's had 6 field goals in a game. That in itself is like, does that even happen? I would love to know that stat, because the thing is that no matter what, we walk away with points. Okay,
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. You don't want to march down the field. Yeah, you want touchdowns. There's no doubt about it. Touchdowns would be ideal, but you want to walk away with points.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing.
And with a defense like the Steelers, like I said, you can win whatever way you want.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you stop a team with only 16 points, you can make 6 field goals and still win.
Is the Steelers not the only team that actually can beat the Ravens and never score a touchdown? Because I don't see another team having that type of accomplishment, saying, I beat the Ravens and I didn't even score a touchdown.
I think this was my favorite instance.
This had to be
this was the best Steelers defense I've seen all year. 3 turnovers,
Well, that has to be a slap in the mouth towards the Ravens. The Ravens have to feel so low in the sense that they beat us and they didn't even score a touchdown, because they did. They
scored 2 of them. I think.
Yeah. So it's like they scored 2 touchdowns. Was it? And they had was it a 2-point conversion?
No, I think it was 2 touchdowns.
He had 16 points.
One field goal.
Then they missed the 2-point.
They missed the 2-point at that. That's why they had 16.
Yeah. Yeah. So they missed a 2-point conversion, which anybody watching that play, like, what was the play? What were you trying to do? What were you trying to accomplish in that?
Well, what I thought was interesting is it was like 2 minutes left, and instead of doing an onside kick, they tried to just punt it. And I'm thinking, why would you do that? 2 minutes
left. They were hoping they would get it back. But my thing is not on that 2-point conversion. When you run it to one side or the other, which they did, they were running it to the left.
Mm-hmm.
You shorten your play area.
Yeah.
So instead of having, is it 50 yards across or whatever, instead of having that whole, end zone to throw to, now you're a much smaller window. That's why I didn't understand that play. Let Lamar run around back and forth. I mean, maybe that was Lamar's fault that he was running that way.
Yeah, in terms of like the Steelers only getting field goals and stuff, every time I would see the Steelers wide receivers, I can't lie, the Ravens secondary looked pretty good. Like, they were on the Steelers wide receivers the entire time, which is why the passing game for the Steelers wasn't that good this game.
Did you going back to that 2-point conversion, Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah, he's the one that did that.
He had the important tackle.
Yeah, he had the important tackle.
Did you see how proud his dad was?
Yeah, I was just got he was screaming from the deck or whatever.
That has to be nice, because he's made some mistakes, especially last couple weeks ago. He had a lot of penalties, but he really made up.
This
on
week
Sunday.
was good. I thought this week,
I thought he played a much better.
He had 2 deflections.
Mhm.
You know, he stopped 2 balls from reaching the wide receivers, and I didn't see any major. I don't even think he had any. Maybe one, but
Yeah,
I don't think. Oh, I can't remember
from
any
what I
penalties.
watched. I mean, I was able to watch 3/4 of the game before I had to go off to work, but that was a really important game for us. It was playoff atmosphere. There was a lot of scuffles,
Mhm.
and it's like I'm surprised more flags just didn't go. Because that's a rivalry, rival of ours, and of course, how much of a rival is it if we're always winning? But it still doesn't. It still has a playoff atmosphere. It's still, they get heated on the field. They don't like each other, at least when they're playing football.
Do you think it's still a rivalry, even though the Steelers won like 8 times out of the last 9?
It is, but it's not as bad as it could be.
Because what I will say is that Washington game 2 weeks prior, like that was pretty intense in terms of like the back and forth.
Well,
like to me that felt really
well. I think in our division,
the Ravens is definitely
the Ravens because they're the only other team in our division that's ever won a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's important to note that because we're the ones fighting each other. We're the Cleveland, and Cincinnati, it's not as much. I would say Cleveland would be next, and then Cincinnati would be last.
Really?
Yeah, I would say that we have more of a rivalry with Cleveland than with.
But yeah, I just think the Ravens and the Steelers have this level of consistency every year.
Mm-hmm.
That it's always like a back and forth between them for the most part. And there's just no consistency with the Browns. They have one great year and then like 50 bad ones.
I just have to laugh because it's like you didn't know what you were going to get going into this year. We had 2 new quarterbacks.
Everyone rated them bad.
Everybody was saying, why would you get these quarterbacks? That these are the quarterbacks nobody else wants. Why are you picking them up? Okay. Anything's better than Pickett. That's how I looked at it.
Oh yeah, I see.
But there are people that were saying, I don't know names, but one in particular where he has gray hair. He says, Steelers will have their first losing season under Tomlin.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I know exactly who you're talking about. I can't stand him because he always says like, I don't know, like the way he speaks, it just makes it sound.
Well, we were picked to be the last in our division, and now we're going into the 12th week, first in division, a game and a half ahead. So, I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, the Steelers are definitely blessed with the football gods, because it's like we always seem to be able to put a winning team together, or at least a competitive team.
I'm just glad that there wasn't any major injuries, because when I look at the injury report for Week 12, I don't see Joey Porter. I remember in the game he had like,
he was
something on his calf or something.
Yeah, well,
like
he had that tackle.
Yeah, he did have that, but it seems like he was badly injured, but he's not.
No,
which is good.
And I think Highsmith's injury wasn't as bad as first thought, right?
But
the
rumor that I heard so far was no more than like 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, it might be a little bit longer than that. The good thing is we got so much depth in that position that Nick Herbig's actually doing pretty good.
Yeah, Nick Herbig, man. Second snap into the game, fumble. And that was, I think, I can't remember exactly, but Derrick Henry had like like I think 500 touches. And this was his first fumble since, like, for the last 500 touches, he hasn't had any fumbles. And this was his first fumble. Just so happens it was against the Steelers. But I think Najee Harris, he had a little bit of he had to go to the sidelines too, had a little bit of a injury or something, but he came back. So they all must have been just like, short temporary pains that they were able to come back from.
All right. Because I wish I knew some of these names better, and I'm getting there, that's why I count on you. During the Ravens game, there was an awesome interception that, to be honest with you.
Oh, Payton Wilson.
Payton Wilson, that's it, because he's new.
Yeah, he's the rookie.
Yeah.
And he ends up probably...
That was some interception.
A lot of people were like, oh, it's not an interception. He was already on the ground.
No.
But the ball was slipping out. He didn't have full possession whenever he touched the ground.
That was an interception that he made into an interception.
Yeah, it wasn't just a catch.
That was something that he fought for.
Mm-hmm.
And that play right there shows you our defense.
That was the steal of the draft. Mm-hmm. That was hands down because he was picked 98, I believe. You can't beat that. Guy's he's making an interception, like you said, and he's picked 98 in the draft. I only expect things to get better from here with him.
Do you have the sense of because I do, a sense that this team, under the some of the leadership, and I really think that Russell Wilson, is a very good leader.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems like the team's like, it's not the fact that they're just gelling, but it's the fact that they just seem not to be like sassy or like they seem to be getting along like a family.
I remember that like everyone was uptight last year. Like no one was getting along. There was always like turmoil and rumors and controversy with George Pickens. I haven't seen him get irritated in a while.
Yeah.
But George Pickens.
Well, everybody has to laugh because what is he doing on the field this week?
Yeah, okay. Like what outlandish
because there's
thing is
like last week it was tackling a guy
that had no ball.
But like a couple weeks before that, it was like it looked like he
jumps.
Yeah, it looked like he was in WWE wrestling, and doing like I don't know. It's like a body slam or something like that.
But that's the definition of Steelers defense. That's just Steelers football.
Yeah,
you're just doing outlandish.
But it's not. But just the fact that they.
Having fun.
Back in the 70s, there was a song for the Steelers, "We Are Family." Okay?
Yeah.
That was a song they would play. And it just seems like that's what
we're developing a family.
Yeah, they're developing a family. Everybody's getting along, and it just seems like even the people that we brought in, like Patrick Queen.
Yeah, Patrick Queen, he hasn't been shining, but I think over the last couple games, he's starting to appear more and more. And that's just him getting settled in. He understands the defense and how they're working and what they're supposed to do.
And what's going on with Mike Williams? Because I didn't know. I didn't see him a whole lot.
He was on the field. They just didn't really throw to him. I think a lot of that has to do with the Ravens secondary and how well they were covering.
Or is it because he's not quite settled in yet? Like he's still getting used to like the offensive play,
the playbook and stuff like that. Yeah, sure. But I haven't really seen that much with any of the wide receivers. George Pickens here and there, but for some reason it just seems like did you see any plays by Calvin Austin this past week? Because I don't remember any.
No. I know I've seen him in on plays and.
That's the thing. I can't remember any substantial play. Like if anything, I just remembered George Pickens and then Darnell Washington. Those are the only two players I can really remember getting some pretty good passes on.
Yeah, all I know is that we, for the second week in a row, we held time of possession.
Yeah.
And let me see what that was. Yeah, oh my goodness. It was huge. 36 minutes to their 23. And that tells me right there
that the Steelers defense is like,
well, is getting off the field pretty quick.
Yeah.
But it also tells me that whether we got over 100, I don't think any of our running backs got over 100 yards, but at a combination.
Yeah, I have the stats right here. So Najee Harris has 63 yards against the Ravens and averaged 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you look at the attempts, 18 attempts, but if you look at Jaylen Warren, he had half the amount of attempts. So he had 9 attempts for 41 yards. And his average yardage was 4.6. So Jaylen Warren actually had more in average yards than Najee Harris. And Najee Harris is good. I've seen him get over 100 3 games in a row.
Our defense helped control that for sure.
Yeah.
Because they only had 50. We had 20 more plays than they did, which tells me their defense was never out on the field, or their offense wasn't on the field that long. Do you think our offensive line is getting better, or?
I think it's stagnant.
Yeah, we had 4 sacks during that game.
I think...
Well, I mean, allowed 4 sacks.
I don't think it's getting...
Is it me? But every time they throw a flag of holding on the offensive line,
it's on Broderick Jones.
It's always Broderick Jones.
Yeah, it's...
They got to put mittens on that guy.
Yeah, he can't be holding. It's just...
He just like...
I think they'll get rid of him after this year, maybe.
You really? They wouldn't give him another chance?
Maybe. I mean, if they
won the first round pick,
yeah, like they might give him a shot once Troy Fautanu gets healthy, because they were going to have Troy Fautanu on the right. But I feel like if it's the same development, and I'm talking like they might keep him for a little bit for next year. But if we don't see improvement before the trade deadline, they might trade him for someone else.
Yeah.
I can see that. But
it takes a long time to develop an offensive line. If anybody has to get along as family, it's an offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know what
where they push.
Yeah.
And because there's instances that I've seen Broderick Jones, he wasn't covering any, like, a specific person or whatnot, thinking that he had to block someone that the guard was blocking or something.
Yeah.
And then I'll just mention the Russell Wilson stats here.
Yeah.
He had 205 yards, but his passer rating was actually the lowest out of all the games that he played.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually really low. It was 67.5. And the other games he had around like 110, 105. But if I look up...
Well, I also said that this is going into that game, that was a very nerve-wracking game.
But if I look up Lamar Jackson, he had something similar to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, like I said, 205 yards, passer rating of 67.5. Lamar Jackson had 207 yards and 66.1 for a passer rating. So all the way around. Oh my goodness. His completion percentage was 48. That's really low. Like if you look at his other completions, it's 75, 84, 60. But for the Steelers, it was his lowest of the year.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise
me. I didn't actually know that. But, I think that's it for the talking about this game. I mean,
Yeah.
we got some crucial interceptions, but
Well, I'm Gary Petrie, and that's Alex Petrie, and together we're GAP GAB. Go visit us at gapgab.com.
yeah, and we'll see you guys next time.